Imagine for a moment that life is not a straight road, but a vast unfolding symphony. Each of us an instrument, each moment a note woven together into music we may not always understand, yet somehow recognize deep in our bones. The silence between the notes, the pauses we mistake for emptiness, are not voids at all. They are the spaces where rhythm gathers strength, where meaning prepares to emerge. Challenges, too, are not interruptions, but crescendos. Invitations to stretch, to awaken, to remember that resilience is less about resistance and more about remembering our place in the grand design. What if the uncertainty you face is not a threat, but a compass? What if every detour, every unanswered question is a gentle reminder that you belong to something infinitely larger, an eternal choreography where even your hesitation, your grief, your doubt is part of the dance? To future-proof your mind is not to outwit change, but to align with it, to stand inside the storm and recognize it as part of the music of becoming. And perhaps the most profound truth of all, you are not simply moving through life. Life itself is moving through you, composing a masterpiece only you can carry. Imagine this. You're standing in the middle of your life and everything feels uncertain. The job market shifts. Technology changes faster than you can keep up with. Relationships evolve. The world feels unpredictable. And in those moments, uncertainty can feel like chaos, like noise you didn't ask for, interrupting the melody you thought your life was supposed to play. But here's the truth. Uncertainty is not chaos. It's music in disguise. It's the part of the song you don't know yet, the part that makes the entire symphony come alive. Think about a piece of music. Without silence between the notes, there's no rhythm, no shape, no beauty. Silence gives sound its meaning. The unknown does the same thing for your life. The spaces where you don't know what's next, the moments when you're waiting for answers, the times when life feels suspended in midair, they aren't voids. They're intervals where meaning is forming, where possibility is gathering strength just beneath the surface. When we feel uncertain, our instinct is to tighten up, to resist, to try to wrestle life back into something predictable. But what if instead of resisting, you leaned in? What if you started to listen for the rhythm hidden inside the uncertainty? Because it's there, always. Uncertainty is not here to derail you. It's here to guide you, to redirect you, to show you possibilities you might never have seen if everything had. Here's the paradox. The very thing we fear, uncertainty, is what gives our lives depth. If you knew exactly what would happen every day, if every moment was scripted, where would the magic be? Where would the growth be? You'd stop evolving, stop stretching, stop discovering who you could become. Uncertainty is the invitation to step into a bigger version of yourself. I want you to think back on a time when your life shifted in a way you didn't expect. Maybe it was the loss of something you thought you couldn't live without. Maybe it was a surprise opportunity that came out of nowhere. Maybe it was one of those moments where you thought, why me? Why now? At first, it felt like the ground had been pulled out from under you. But looking back, can you see how that uncertainty shaped you? Can you see how it carved out space for something new, something you couldn't have imagined at the time? That's the symphony at work. That's life composing music with your existence. And here's the thing. Once you start to see uncertainty this way, it stops being something you fear. It becomes something you trust, like a river carrying you forward, even when you can't see around the bend. You don't need to control the river. You just need to stay open enough to let it move you. That's where resilience begins. So the next time uncertainty shows up, and it will, because that's the nature of life, I want you to remember this. It's not chaos, it's composition. It's not the end of the song. It's the part that makes the melody worth hearing. Uncertainty isn't here to break you. It's here to make the music of your life unforgettable. When most people hear the word resilience, they imagine armor. They imagine bracing themselves, standing firm, refusing to bend no matter what comes. We're taught to toughen up, push through, grit, our teeth. And while there's value in persistence, that definition of resilience misses the deeper truth. Real resilience isn't about hardening yourself against the world. It's about learning how to move with it, how to stay open, how to align with the current instead of fighting it. Think about trees in a storm. The ones that snap aren't always the weak ones. They're often the rigid ones. The strongest trees are the ones that bend, the ones that let the wind move through their branches without resistance. That's what resilience really looks like. It's flexibility. It's trust. It's knowing that life will send storms your way and choosing to meet them with grace instead of tension. And I know when you're in the middle of a storm, that's the last thing you want to do. You want to hold on tighter, control what you can, force things to stay the same. But here's the reality. Life doesn't care about your grip. Life is going to move. Seasons are going to change. The music is going to shift. You can either exhaust yourself trying to hold back the tide, or you can learn to move with it. That's why resilience isn't resistance. It's alignment. When you resist, you're fighting the natural rhythm of change. You're saying, I refuse to let go of what was. But when you align, you're saying, I trust that what's coming is part of the greater design. That shift changes everything. Suddenly, the storm stops feeling like punishment and starts looking like transformation. I've seen it in my own life, and I bet you've seen it too. You thought you'd break when a relationship ended, when a job disappeared, when a plan unraveled. But you didn't. You bent. You adapted. And in that bending, you discovered a strength you didn't even know you had. That's resilience, not a wall, but a river. Not a shield, but a dance. And here's the beautiful part. When you live this way, you stop fearing the unknown. You stop dreading the storms because you know you don't have to outmuscle them. You just have to align with them. You start to trust that life isn't working against you, even when it feels like it is. It's working through you, carving you into the person you're meant to become. The truth is, everything in nature teaches us this. Rivers carve canyons not by fighting the rock, but by flowing with patience. Birds ride the wind instead of trying to push against it. Even your breath, inhale, exhale, is an act of surrender and alignment. Life is showing us over and over again how to live resiliently, if only we pay attention. So, the next time you find yourself gripping tightly, trying to resist what is, ask yourself, what would it look like to align instead of fight? What would it feel like to trust that this moment, even this storm, has its place in the symphony of your life? Because resilience isn't about standing harder. It's about standing wiser. And the most unshakable people you'll ever meet aren't the ones who never fall. They're the ones who know how to bend without breaking. We live in a culture that worships motion. Do more, move faster, stay busy, check the boxes, fill the calendar. Somewhere along the way, we began to confuse movement with meaning. But here's the paradox. Sometimes the most important movement in your life doesn't look like movement at all. It looks like stillness. Think about music again. Every beautiful melody has rests, pauses, spaces where nothing seems to be happening. But without those pauses, the music would lose its shape. It would just be noise. The same is true in life. The pauses we so often resent, the waiting, the silence, the in-between seasons, those are not wasted moments. They are what give everything else its meaning. And yet, we treat stillness like it's failure. If we're not moving, producing, achieving, we assume we're falling behind. But what if the pause isn't holding you back? What if the pause is preparing you? What if the quiet is where life whispers the very thing you've been too distracted to hear, shan't to hear? Stillness has power. It's the moment when your mind stops racing long enough to notice the truth that's been there all along. It's when clarity finally emerges, not because you forced it, but because you allowed space for it. Some of the most transformative insights you'll ever have don't arrive when you're sprinting. They arrive in the pause, when you finally stop long enough to receive them. Think about the seasons. Winter looks like nothing is happening. The trees are bare. The fields are empty. The world seems asleep. But beneath the surface, roots are growing deeper. Seeds are incubating. The ground is preparing for spring. If you judged winter by what you could see, you'd call it barren. But if you understood what's happening beneath, you'd call it essential. Your life has winters too. Pauses that look empty, but are actually sacred spaces of preparation. The problem is, most of us rush through them. We're so uncomfortable with silence that we fill it with noise, scrolling, talking, planning, distracting ourselves from the gift of the pause. But when we do that, we miss the very wisdom those moments are designed to give us. Stillness isn't a gap in the music of your life. It's the part that allows the melody to take shape. So what does this mean for you right now in a world that feels louder and faster every single day? It means you have to create room for stillness, even when it feels unnatural. You have to trust that pausing is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's in the pause that you learn to hear yourself. It's in the pause that you reconnect to your intuition, to your faith, to the deeper rhythm guiding you. And here's the truth. If you don't learn to honor the pauses, life will force them on you. Burnout will stop you. Loss will stop you. Circumstances will slam the brakes until you finally listen. But if you can learn to honor the stillness before it demands your attention, it becomes a practice of strength, not survival. The next time you find yourself in a season of waiting, or in a moment of quiet that feels uncomfortable, I want you to remember this. The pause is not the absence of progress. It is the foundation of it.
Stillness isn't empty.
Stillness is where life gathers its power. When challenges show up, our first reaction is almost always the same. Why is this happening to me? We see obstacles as disruptions, roadblocks standing in the way of the life we thought we were supposed to have. But what if that's the wrong way to see them? What if every challenge is less of a wall and more of an invitation? An invitation to grow, to stretch, to discover strength you didn't know you had? Think about it. The moments in your life that shaped you the most, the ones that forged who you are today, weren't the easy ones, were they? They were the times you had to figure it out when you didn't know how. The times you were forced out of your comfort zone into uncharted territory. The times you were tested. You don't grow in the absence of challenge. You grow because of it. Pressure is not punishment. Pressure is what turns coal into diamonds. We tend to think challenges shrink us, but really they expand us. They break the shell of who we've been so we can step into who we're becoming. And yes, it's uncomfortable. It's supposed to be. Growth doesn't happen in the familiar. It happens in the stretch. When life puts something heavy in your path, it's not to weigh you down. It's to build the muscles you'll need for the road ahead. I want you to reframe the way you see obstacles. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Try asking, what is this moment inviting me into? That question changes everything. Suddenly, the challenge isn't just pain. It's possibility. It's a doorway you never would have walked through on your own. Think of a time when life threw you off course. Maybe it was the breakup you didn't see coming, the job loss that left you reeling, the diagnosis that shook your foundation. At the time, it probably felt like your world was collapsing. But looking back, can you see how it invited you to step into something different? Maybe it forced you to reinvent yourself. Maybe it pushed you toward people who are now essential in your life. Maybe it revealed a strength you didn't know you had until you were forced to use it. That's the hidden beauty of challenges. They don't just test us, they reveal us. They strip away the illusion of control and ask, who are you now? Who will you now? Who will you choose to be? Every challenge carries within it the seeds of transformation, if you're willing to see it that way. And let's be honest. Sometimes the greatest invitations come disguised as the hardest moments. We rarely recognize them in real time. It's only later, when the dust settles, that we can look back and say, that moment changed me. That challenge was the turning point. So the next time you face something that feels too heavy, too unfair, too impossible, remember this. It may not be a wall at all. It may be an opening into strength, wisdom, and resilience you didn't know you were capable of. Challenges are not here to break you. They're here to invite you into the person you were always meant to become. We live in a world obsessed with certainty. We want answers, timelines, guarantees. We want to know exactly how things will unfold so we can plan, prepare, and protect ourselves. But here's the problem. Life doesn't work that way. Life is unpredictable. And no matter how much you try to lock it down, it will always find a way to surprise you. That's why future-proofing your mind isn't about eliminating uncertainty. It's about learning how to think, feel, and live in a way that thrives inside it. A future-proof mindset isn't rigid. It isn't built on a fixed blueprint of how things should be. It's built on adaptability, curiosity, and trust. It's the willingness to hold questions without rushing to fill them with shallow answers. It's the courage to walk forward, even when the ground beneath you is still forming. Think about children. They don't need certainty to explore. They don't demand guarantees before they try something new. They touch, they test, they fall, they get back up. Their curiosity is stronger than their fear. Somewhere along the way, we lose that. We trade curiosity for control, wonder for worry. But if you want a mind that can weather uncertainty, you've got to reclaim that childlike willingness to engage with the unknown instead of fearing it. Because here's the truth. Uncertainty is not your enemy. Stagnation. The minute you decide you already know everything you need to know, that's the minute you stop growing. A future-proof mindset keeps you open to learning, open to evolving, open to the idea that what looks like an ending today could be the foundation of something extraordinary tomorrow. And let's talk about trust, not blind trust that everything will be easy or painless, but trust that no matter what comes, you have what it takes to meet it. That's the deepest form of resilience, not the belief that life will go as planned, but the belief that you'll rise to meet it even when it doesn't. That's what allows you to move forward without being paralyzed by uncertainty. Think back to some of your most meaningful moments in life. Did you plan them perfectly, or did they arrive unexpectedly? Through chance encounters, surprising turns, risks you weren't sure you were ready for. A future-proof mind recognizes that some of life's greatest gifts don't come from control, but from openness. It's about creating a posture of readiness, not for a specific outcome, but for whatever unfolds. And yes, it takes courage. It takes courage to step into the unknown without demanding a map. It takes courage to let go of certainty and replace it with curiosity. But that's the kind of courage that keeps you alive, awake, and evolving. The future will always be uncertain, but that doesn't mean you have to live afraid of it. It means you have to train your mind to meet it differently, to see uncertainty not as a threat, but as a teacher, to welcome the questions, to trust your ability to adapt and to walk forward knowing that life isn't asking you to predict the future. It's asking you to participate in it, because the future doesn't belong to the ones who know all the answers. It belongs to the ones who stay curious enough to keep asking better questions. It's easy to believe that your life is yours alone, that you're moving through this world in isolation, carrying your challenges, your dreams, and your questions by yourself. But the truth is, you're not a solo act. You're part of something far greater, a vast, interconnected web of lives, choices, and moments that all ripple into one another. Just like a single note can't make a song, you cannot live this life apart from the symphony around you. Every decision you make, every word you speak, every silence you hold, it all carries impact. You may not always see it, but you are shaping the world in ways you can't measure. Think about the people who have shaped you. Some of them may not even know the influence they had: a teacher, a friend, a stranger who offered kindness at the right moment. Their presence became part of your story. And in the same way, your presence is woven into the stories of others. That's why future-proofing your mind isn't just about resilience for yourself. It's about recognizing that the way you show up ripples outward into the greater whole. When you choose resilience instead of despair, alignment instead of resistance, curiosity instead of fear, you give others permission to do the same. Your strength creates space for theirs. Your openness lights a path they didn't see before. And here's the beautiful paradox. Even when you feel small, you are never insignificant. A single spark can ignite a wildfire. One voice can change the course of a conversation, and one act of courage can set off a chain reaction of resilience in people you may never meet. You're both the note and the symphony, both the thread and the tapestry. If you've ever stood under a night sky and looked up at the stars, you know the feeling of awe that comes from realizing you're part of something infinite. That same truth applies here. Your life is not separate from the whole. It is woven into the fabric of existence itself. The question is not whether you matter. The question is how you will choose to play your part in this vast, unfolding composition. And the good news is, you don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to control the whole song. You just need to play your note with honesty, with courage, with love. When you do that, the rest falls into place because the symphony doesn't need perfection. It needs presence. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by uncertainty or doubt, remember this: you're not moving through life alone. Life is moving through you. Your resilience, your choices, your very being are part of a grander design you may never fully see. You are not just living your story. You are helping compose the story of us all.